Brigadier and members of the National Toshaos Council. I'm happy to be here this afternoon to address you on areas pertaining to my ministerial responsibility as Prime Minister. I know it's after lunch, but I will keep this more interactive, okay? I have my co-presenters here with me, and I will try not to let them do too much talking. I will do some talking, and then we can start with you asking questions, and then they will come in and take whatever, answer your questions or whatever points you raise. You know, having said that, we're hosting this conference today under the theme, Astute Leadership for Amerindian Development. And perhaps we need to reflect on where we as a people are coming from in terms of development. And I would like some of the older ones, like me, in the gathering, to reflect on the state of activities before 1992. If you're not so old, perhaps you would have heard from your parents when little or nothing in terms of development was happening in our hinterland for our Amerindian brothers and sisters. You know, 1992 was when we had the return to democracy, when the PPPC won the elections. And one of the first things that the new government headed by President Ret'd did was to appoint a Minister of Amerindian Affairs and to start planning for greater development of our hinterland communities. And I want you to remember the school system before 1992 in the hinterland was a difficult one. Many schools could not have properly offered CXC subjects, so our Amerindian brothers can be better qualified within their communities. Many of our Amerindian brothers and sisters had to come to Georgetown or closer to the coastal communities where schools existed that offered the courses for them to do to get a better education so they can serve in their communities. So we had a population that was denied adequate education to better serve their communities and to better develop their communities. And from 1992 onwards, we have invested not only in education, but in health, infrastructure development, and you name it. On the return to government in 2020, the present administration that I'm a part of, we've continued this development of our Amerindian community. And it's important that we understand the theme, astute leadership for Amerindian development. And this is leadership at the central government level and leadership at your level, your community level, in your villages, your Amerindian communities, whether you're the Toshaos or whether you're the councillors. As a government, and you would have heard from the President yesterday, we will continue to work with you to bring development to your communities, because whatever happens on the coastland in terms of development must happen in the hinterland. We are bridging the development divide in all areas. Better education, you will hear more about that by other ministers, better health, but in terms of my presentation, I'm looking at energy and ICT connectivity. You know, and I want to share my experience. When I joined with the PPP and I was campaigning in 2000, right, before the elections, I went to many Amerindian communities and I walked with my phone. And whenever I reach every community, I try to connect to the internet. So I had connecting while I was there. And when I finished the political rallies and ready to leave, my phone was still trying to connect in many communities. How many of you experienced that in your community? Just show by raising your hand. All right, you see a lot of people experience that. So what we have done since then, we've tried to increase the bandwidth, to improve connections, and we reach a stage today where we're utilizing the low Earth, they call it a fancy name, LEO, low Earth orbit satellites. We've engaged the low Earth orbit satellite, and we are bringing internet to your community at the highest speed that you could ever imagine. We've already finished 66 communities in regions 1 and 2 primarily, and some communities in, I think, 5 and 6. But what we have done there was just the phase 1. Phase 2 should have started in the second week of August, but because of this National Toshaos Council conference, we've decided to put on hold phase 2. And during phase 2, at the end of the conference, we start phase 2. And phase 2, we'll see connections that people in region 1 and 2 are experiencing will be done in region 7 and region 8 and part of region 6 in phase 2. The plan is by December, and when I said December, I don't mean December the 3rd or 4th, before the 25th, Christmas Day in December, we want to connect 250 Amerindian communities with this high-speed internet. Here's a case where you move in from the 10 megabytes per second to some 200 megabytes per second. And I can tell you, that is faster than many communities on the coastland in Georgetown. And when we finish that project, we will be effectively have similar internet connectivity like the coastland. And that will be an example for us to show to the rest of the world that we have bridged the digital divide. What does that mean to you? It means that you're now connected with the world, as I would say, connected with the future. You can be in your village and your medical personnel can utilize the internet to do what they call telemedicine, where they can take images and transmit it to a specialist in Georgetown or somewhere around the world who can do a better diagnosis as to what a patient is suffering from and determine whether the patient could remain in the community and be treated or be brought to Georgetown. What does it mean? It means with the gold scholarship, everybody's been complaining about not being able to connect to the internet, having signed up to do their certificates, diplomas, and the first and second and third degree programs with the Ghana Online Academy of Learning. It means now that in your community, you can be connected and you could have access to all the reading materials, all the lectures, and better able to complete your education in your community. And you know, we were in a community, Kamwata, I think it was, where a young lady was telling me, you know, that she works in the medical field and she was able to utilize the telemedicine option of transmitting the information on patients to Georgetown. And in her spare time, she also studies. So she had access to all our study material. That is what our government, under the office of the Prime Minister, wants to bring to every community, development. And that is what I rather suspect our president meant when he used the term Amerindian development, among other things. Bridging the divide, the development divide between the hinterland and the coastland. You know, in addition to the high-speed internet, we also have a project Hinterland Connectivity Project, Hinterland Poor and Remote Communities ICT Connectivity Project. And Mr. Ronald, where is he? Ronald is there. Harsawak is the project manager, and they've already completed 100 ICT, 150, close to 150 ICT hubs in 150 Amerindian communities. Each hub will have 20 laptops. They will have a solar system to supply energy to the laptops, and you will have the high-speed internet. Because for every community, we're going to put install at least three of these low Earth orbit satellites. One will be at the health center, one will be at the ICT hub, and one will be at the school. Okay? So every community will have at least three of those, and you have to carry it, right? We want you to carry it. Because after we install it, it's just a matter of to do some light maintenance from time to time and check it, right? We don't want anybody, and of course, we will train people in the communities, because part of our program is not just installing the software, but also installing the hardware, hardware, the equipment, the building, etc., but also dealing with the softer side of the things, where we identify members from the community who will receive training. And I have been in my office signing hundreds of certificates. Get tired someday, because Mr. Harsawak is conducting his training all over the hinterland, and everybody wants a certificate to show what they achieve, right, in terms of their learning. So I have to sign off all those certificates. So I probably signed about over 1,500 already. One time he had me signing 1,000 at one go, of course with some cups of coffee. All right? So there's where we're going. We're bringing development to you, and that is just ICT. In terms of the energy side, I'm sorry, it's not just only 150 hubs. We have 200, just over 200 hubs we want to complete as part of this project. And of course, the training will go on. So every community will have an ICT hub that is funded by the government of Guyana under this project, and you'll be connected to the high-speed internet. And that's separate and apart from the private service that is provided by Digicel, GTT, and others. That is from the government of Guyana to ensure that we bridge the digital divide and ensure development comes to your community. The other aspect I want to talk to you about quickly before we open for any questions and so is energy. We have an energy mix that we're pursuing, right? You heard about the gas to energy project. We're pursuing that, and next year, on the coastland, everybody in the coastland in what we call Damar-Borbis interconnected system will be receiving energy from the gas to energy project, and they'll be paying less than half of what they're paying now, right? Another big project for us, which will not be completed in this 5-year, but the next 5 years of development, 2025 to 2030, we'll complete the Amelia Falls hydroelectric project, and that will bring 165 megawatts of power, mainly to the hinterland community, and we will also have the transmission system to connect the coast and the hinterland community. So usage can be made of that power. So in all, we'll have 300 megawatts from the gas to energy project, 165 from the hydropower, and as part of the mix, we pursue what we call wind energy and solar energy. And I left solar energy for last because that is the one that we found to be more suitable, that we could quickly deliver to your communities. And many of your communities already have mini grids or microgrids, right? Where we have a set of panels. You see a whole set of panels like a farm of panels, and you have a bank of batteries, and they build out a grid, which is basically a transformer and some cables that will take the electricity to the community buildings. The schools will have electricity. Your health center will have electricity. The police station, your learning resource center, the village office, right, have electricity. And, you know, some amount of electricity will be left over to supply whatever cottage industry that is developed by the community there. And the Ghana Energy Agency, under the leadership of Dr. Mahendra Sharma, is pursuing that project. I think some 31 communities already have these microgrids and solar PV systems. And we're building out this year, we intend to build out 5 more in 5 fairly large communities. You can have the details afterwards in the question and answer as to the communities that will get the 5 more. So, and do remember, that earlier in the year and last year, we have issued out 30,000 household solar systems to every village represented here. And if your village did not get all of the solar household systems, we've ordered an additional amount, and we want to issue the additional amount to those who didn't get before the end of the year 2024. Okay, so those are 2 areas that I want to quickly present on: the ICT and the energy. And you know that in addition to these microgrids, we have fairly larger solar farms. One is under construction and soon will be commissioned at Madhya. We already did one at Bartika. There's another one at Mabaruma. And there's one at Letem. And at Kumu and Mokomoko in Region 9, we have 2 mini hydros that are currently under construction. So all in all, in addition to providing the energy, we are also meeting our requirements under the Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030. Very important strategy that has already resulted in the sale of carbon credits and you in your communities benefiting from it. And only yesterday, the President has announced that it's no longer 15% of the money, it's now some 26% of the money that will go to your communities. So, energy and ICT, the areas under my responsibility, that is so focused on bridging the divide and bringing development to our Amerindian communities. Of course, in times of disaster, the Prime Minister is also responsible for the Civil Defense Commission, and many of your communities would have benefited from disaster relief during not only flooding, but also during the long dry spell last year when food security became threatened in many communities, especially in Region 9, right? We've moved a lot of relief supplies, we've moved a lot of food, right? A lot of, I think, cassava from the coastland went to the hinterland to be made into cassava bread and other food items to sustain the communities that were affected. Right, so that's it for me in terms of presentation, but we're now open for questions. Thank you.